Transport in Plants, Part 1. Please use this video and your textbook to fill in the notes called Section 1. In this lesson, we will be learning all about why transport systems are necessary, what the functions of xylem and phloem are, and we will also learn to identify the positions of xylem and phloem in roots, stems and leaves of dicotyledonous plants. So why are transport systems necessary? After all, small organisms can get most of their requirements by diffusion, for example the oxygen they need for respiration. However, this is possible because the organism is small enough and therefore diffusion is fast enough to get that oxygen through, for example, an insect's body or into a single-celled organism. In larger organisms, diffusion is not fast enough to allow requirements to reach every single cell efficiently. So in this case, a more complex transport system is needed. In mammals, a pump, in other words the heart, and a network of blood vessels performs this function. In plants, the branching shape of the plant ensures that the leaves are exposed to the air, allowing for diffusion of gases to happen between the surrounding air and the air spaces within the leaves, and this happens through the stomata. However, water and mineral salts from the soil and manufactured food also needs to be transported through the plant. This happens through a vascular system, vessels which run through and branch through the plant in order to move a lot of required substances quickly. This is called mass flow. As mentioned before, transport in plants takes place in specialized tissue called vascular bundles. A vascular bundle is made up of two parts, xylem and phloem. Xylem, in which water and mineral salts are transported from the roots through the stem and to the leaves, and phloem, in which substances manufactured by the plant, for example sucrose or amino acids, are transported from either areas where they are made, like the leaves, or areas of storage, and they are taken to areas where they are needed, for example growing shoots or developing fruit. In a dicotyledonous plant, the positions of vascular bundles are as shown in this diagram, in the leaf, stem and root. In a leaf, the midrib and veins contain the vascular bundles, with the xylem towards the upper surface of the leaf and the phloem towards the underside of the leaf. That's why aphids are usually found under a leaf. They feed from the food in the phloem vessels, and so they insert their long proboscis mouthparts from the underside of the leaf to reach the phloem more easily. In the stem, the vascular bundles are arranged in a circle, with the xylem towards the center and the phloem towards the outer edge. This arrangement gives strength to the stem. Imagine breaking one thin stick. It's quite easy, but breaking a group branch together is much harder. So this arrangement of vascular bundles in a circle around the stem adds strength to the stem. In a root, the vascular bundle which here, by the way, is called the stele. This is positioned in the center, and this is more efficient for anchoring the plant. The xylem vessels in a root are in a star shape, with the phloem vessels situated between the arms of the star. So in this diagram, we can see the arrangement of vascular bundles in the leaf, in a stem, and in a root. Now we're going to look at xylem vessels in a bit more detail. This is a photomicrograph of xylem vessels. You can see the thickened cell walls and hollow tubes through which water and mineral salts are transported in one direction only, from the roots up the stem to the leaves. We did look at xylem vessels when studying specialized cells. If you remember, we had looked at several ways in which the xylem is adapted for its functions. For example, it's made up of dead, hollow cells. The lack of a nucleus or cytoplasm, in other words any living contents or protoplasm, means that there is more space for more water to run through the cell, or in other words the remaining cell wall. The cells are also joined end on end, and the cross walls have been broken down. This forms a continuous tube for water to flow through easily with less resistance. Xylem cell walls are made up of cellulose, just like any other plant cell, but they also contain lignin, which is really strong, and this strengthens the xylem vessels so that they are able to support the plant. Wood is mostly made up of lignified xylem vessels. Xylem vessels are also very narrow tubes. Now, water has the special property. The forces between the molecules cause them to be attracted together, to each other. This is called cohesive forces. The water molecules are also attracted to other surfaces. This is called adhesion. In a very narrow tube, the cohesive and adhesive forces allow the water to be drawn upwards in a long column. This is called capillarity. These adhesive and cohesive forces keep the water moving up easily through the xylem. Phloem tubes transport materials that were made or manufactured by the plant. Food materials like amino acids and sucrose. Remember that glucose is the carbohydrate made in photosynthesis. It cannot be stored as glucose because it is too soluble, and so it would affect the osmotic potential in the cells. So plants convert the glucose to starch, which is insoluble, and it can be stored without affecting osmotic potentials. When the carbohydrates need to be transported, plants convert them to sucrose because this is soluble, so it can move through the sap in the phloem tubes, but it is not very reactive, so it will not get used up along the way. In phloem, shown here in the blue, the sap can move upwards or downwards from the leaves to the roots, or from storage organs in the roots to developing shoots. Phloem tube cells, which are called elements, do contain cytoplasm, but they have no nuclei. Cells with nuclei, called companion cells, are situated alongside them, and these probably provide any requirements that the phloem tube elements need. The phloem tube elements are also arranged end on end to form a tube, but the end walls are not totally broken down. They contain holes like a sieve, and these holy end joining walls are called sieve plates. To summarize, in this lesson we covered why transport systems are necessary in larger organisms, the functions of xylem and phloem and the basic structure of these vessels, and we also identified the positions of xylem and phloem in the roots, stems and leaves of dicotyledonous plants. This is the end of Transport in Plants Part 1.